things. But that leads to another thing that we're working on currently here in LA, which is getting a theater rented out for people to actually see the Air movie, which breaks down the process of signing Michael Jordan to Nike back in 1984. And I think once you can understand how that changed everything when it came to footwear, especially Nike footwear, you can gain a true understanding of where we are today in 2023 and the provenance that this carries out. So it's just a different level of understanding, an emotional intelligence or emotional connection to the story and the energy and effort that goes into actually making this happen brings out a different level of clarity for people to why this is such a big deal. And to give you just another breakdown, Artifact was acquired in 2021 by Nike. Usually, when it comes to creating any type of products that Nike has, it's a 3, 4, 5 year process to get a pair of shoes out. Like from concept, design to execution. They have to test the shoes. They have to understand how to the regulation of the quality and the quantity of the shoe. It's not something that can happen within the short time frame that has happened here. And people don't truly even understand that process because they never been through it before, right? Like it's a lot of R&D that goes behind product release. So the fact that Nike and Artifact had an opportunity to do this at such a grand scale with such very little time is mind blowing. And people should also understand that as well, because this isn't a fly by night type of situation. Deep, what's good, bro?
Yeah, I remember you're completely right about that because I remember when I was following Artifact and before the Nike acquisition, one of the founders was on a space with Yoon, and if you like Yoon, she's like a fashion designer or model or something. I think she's from Ambush, right? If
Yep,
I'm
yep.
correct. And so when they were talking about how Web3 and digital fashion is amazing because, like you said, it takes a long time to produce a shoe. But when it comes to digital fashion, you can just experiment. You don't need, because there's a lot of legal issues and a lot of cost that goes into producing a shoe. But if you create a digital shoe, that's what the founders taught Nike. Like, look, we can produce these shoes on a digital level, and we can produce one a day if we really wanted to, right? And I think that is like extremely innovative and important to understand.
And that's a fact too, because even just being able to create on this level, it creates a different pathway of understanding how supply and demand works, right? So you don't have to actually use physical materials to come up with samples or things of that nature to deal with when in the creating process. You can digitize the actual release, see how the response is when it comes to those releases, see if people want them, if they want them, right? Put it out on the market for sale, put the product out. If you don't get any reply to it, scrap the digital version and not have to worry about making the physical version. This is a totally different thing. And I know somebody who can understand this is Johnny, because this man, you're doing this on a day-to-day basis. So Johnny, what's good?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. They're just taking note out of what we do, right? And so, especially with me, it's like I'm a digital sneaker designer on Nikes and Jordans and all this other shit, right? And what I do is I create a skin on a shoe that looks real off of it, like a real image, make it look like production ready, like one of my makers will make it look once I actually do put it into production. And then I just comment like, yo, comment your shoe size and tag a friend, DM me if you're interested, right? And then if I get orders and they're interested, then we'll take the orders, we'll order the materials, and then we'll make what is ordered, right? By demand, like, and then nothing's wasted. Everything, it's all based off of a digital render off of a sneaker. So it just makes sense, right? Everyone who wants it gets it. No waste materials, and then everyone's happy. They just have to be
Man, I
patient
keep
and wait.
commenting on those thinking I'm going to win a free pair of shoes, bro. That's why I keep commenting my Jace Bennett 10 and a half. Jace Bennett 10 and a half.
As soon as you want to say, yo, I'm ready to purchase, yo, I got you. it's just like, I think with that, it's just getting them into production, right? It's like I put them out there. I say, yo, if anybody's interested, and then enough people, they'll DM me, and then and even with that, it's like a crazy conversion rate, right? It's like the amount of people that want them compared to the amount of people that want to spend the money on them is insane. But that's something you got to deal with on a day to day. But yeah, it's like they're just taking pages out of customizers' books that we've been kind of doing this for quite some time. But it just makes sense.
I'm going back into your Instagram, man. There was a pair that I know it's exactly what you're talking about now, and I'm like, oh man, I really, really, really wanted those. And so now that I know, I might hit you up on. I'll figure out if it's even a thing anymore. But I'll hit you back up.
Yeah, Chase, anything you want, I got you.
Anything you want, I got you. Yo, get a double up on the pairs, Jason. Make sure you get a size 14 for me as well. But moving on, yeah,
14,
yeah,
14
yeah, yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
Anything you want,
I
you can.
appreciate.
Oh, sorry.
Break it down, then. I appreciate that. But no, this is something too. When we were speaking to Jonah on Bad Take, right? He proved a great point talking about the technology, right? Because we've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about it from one perspective when it comes to utilizing the RFID chip, right? That are inside of the sneakers to gather the data to create opportunities, whatever those may be. I know Tevi said that it was something in the patent where we could possibly use, and not necessarily with the Air Force Ones, but with the CRLs, use the shoes and the Bluetooth capability that they hold, and possibly in the Air Force Ones as well. I don't know the patent law, I didn't look it up, but use the Bluetooth capability that they hold to start your car, start your Tesla, because with a Tesla, you don't necessarily need a physical key. It's all Bluetooth, and you use your phone to get into the car to create the ignition and start it up, right? So if you can use that same Bluetooth capabilities and put that into your shoes, that's a whole nother gameplay. Like it's the same situation of the gamification used with going to receive exclusive drops or things of that nature. If you walk up to this place, and I know this is something that Nike has been doing for years when it comes to Bluetooth drops on the sneaker app, where you had to be physically within a certain limit of certain specific locations to receive access to make a purchase. I know when we were in Utah in February for the All-Star game, for CloneX Utah's event, they had multiple Bluetooth enabled location drops for the All-Star game. And thinking about that, the people are looking for the provenance, they're looking for the God tier when it comes to owning a clone. I think that's part of the equation. If you have a clone in your wallet, you have these shoes on, or the Bluetooth utilization with owning these shoes, if you're in a specific location, it grants you access to exclusive drops that you could not receive or be a part of without that equation. And that's major, major news. That's future changing technology, merging worlds within one, because you actually do have the physical aspect of it, the physical component, the technological aspect, the technological component, the NFT slash gamification slash tokenization aspect of it. And that's the true definition of merging worlds. And that's just another use case of being part of utilizing these shoes and these NFTs and creating this mint on the 24th. Johnny, was cracking.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you too, since you're kind of in this. I kind of got in an argument with one of these consignment owners the other day, just jokingly, obviously. But as far as being able to track, do you think they're going to take all the hype releases that they release, period, like almost like what they do on the sneakers app, and they're going to tokenize them first and allow access that way? And if so, like, do you think they're going to be able to control the outflow of those shoes, or do you think like it'll be like almost like the sneakers app where these people will be able to create like 500 to 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 different accounts and get access to them almost like how they always do, and kind of gamify the system? It was just an interesting question I thought I might want to ask you.
No, that's a great question. And that's part of the reason why this space isn't recorded, right? So we can go off the cuff and just speak truth. Do I think so? Yes. The same person who created the sneakers app, Ron Ferris, is behind Nike Virtual Studios and what they're doing here with the Our Force One campaign and things of that nature. So it just makes sense for them to want to utilize that same thought process when they created the sneakers app, to institute that same design into what they're doing here at NVS. I know that, well, we are live, but I don't want to go too deep. It's certain things that they didn't want the sneakers app to turn into that it actually did turn into, that, swayed them in a different direction. I don't think that they were happy with how the sneaker app became a cracked version for botters and resellers to make it their personal playground when it came to these exclusive releases. And that's what they're looking to change with the situation with NVS. So to answer the second part of your question, yes, I do believe they're going to make it more streamlined and exclusive, and attach it to the uh, digital side of things, like the custodial wallets, and keeping it more clean so it doesn't become abused like the sneakers app has been and where it's at now currently. I do think that's what they're actively looking to go against. They wanted to have more of an exclusive feel, but more access given to the underdogs, I guess we could call it now, because certain people make it their livelihood, or their livelihood is controlled by how many pairs they can get. So they find more creative ways to do so. They're looking to battle against that and want to make it an all-around experience for more people, instead of streamlining it to the people who know how to navigate and utilize the technology. That's why they haven't jumped into a Discord, when I'm speaking about MVS. That's why they haven't made it like a Degen play thus far, because they don't necessarily even want to cater to the Degens. They want to cater to the world. They want the people who haven't had anything or any type of experiences with NFTs. They want them to be able to jump into this and explore that side of blockchain on an easier, more digestible level. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting how all of this stuff comes together, right? Because again, that's NDS's perspective. When speaking about Artifact and their trajectory, I'm feeling like it's a totally different perspective. I would say that they want it to be more of a communal experience. They want it to be more exclusive, right? Because that's what us as holders have been screaming for. We want the God tier. I want to be able to grant access to a release before any and everyone else. I want to be able to experience certain things that people who don't own this token can experience. That's the reason why I jumped into this community, this project. So I think that's also the tug and pull when it comes to NVS and Artifact. Just the different of perspectives of how they want to execute on a grander scale. But that's a whole nother conversation that we can get into later, for real, for real.
Yeah, that's a good rebuttal. Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of got in an argument with him because he was like, well, yeah, because all of our shoes we pretty much get from Nike, right? And it's like we bought them off of Nike or through Nike. And it's like if they could have stopped it, or they have bout protection, it's like if they have one of the biggest companies, why don't they stop them, right? It's like, and then I'm like, damn, dude, it was a good point. I didn't want to argue for it, but then it was also like I heard it and it was like, yeah, that's true. If they could stop it right now, why don't they, right? Because if anybody's getting backdoored, it's like they shouldn't be. And it's like if they can control it through their own means, being a top 10 company in the world, they should. But then it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like I understand, it's like, man, that would be really dope, and I'm hoping they're like leading that way. But then it's like, yeah, it's weird. Like, okay, well, you're getting backdoored purposely, like your company is getting back. Like, how is that even possible, right? It's like if you're trying to get it to the masses. It was just interesting because I was like trying to describe to him. I was like, yeah, so it's like they want to look out for the every day, but it's like, well, are they? Because I'm getting like 100 pairs a week from them, like through an app that no one's getting any pairs, and I haven't been able to cop off of for like 4 years, and I'm like, damn, that's fucked, right? So I was like, I got a little bitter, but I was like, but then you look at Artifact and what they're doing, right? And that's why I love this forging season, why I hopped in here. It's like, I just got 10 of the rarest shoes, like, or 9 of the 10 rarest shoes that like Nike's dropped, and I don't even know how many years, like ever. Right. And then I got to like actually take a week to forge them without having to worry about it. But yeah, I'm hoping that's kind of in the way they're going. But I love the fact that what you just said, right? It's like Artifacts is basically like any fashion house, like Louis Vuitton, or your VIP customer, and then you're going to get the full catalog. You get to choose what you want, retail before anybody else, and then whatever scraps are left, then like the people can grab whatever's left before it's sold out, right? So yeah, just going in the way of any like fashion house. That's why I kind of joined this. Is like the guaranteed access into the like most limited product. But God, I'm hoping Nike kind of does the same thing with the boost thing.
And that's a double-edged sword too, right? Because Nike is a company, and at the end of the day, they're a public company. They have shareholders. They have goals that they want to hit. They have numbers that they have to produce, right? So while they want to create a culture where people feel involved and a part of it, they still have to keep business afloat. So it's kind of, you got to pick your battles and understanding how you want to execute it and what you're going to do to execute to make both sides happy. I think that's the beautiful part about having NVS infused into this ecosystem that they're creating, because they can have NVS focusing on one specific avenue of community, and utilizing NFTs and blockchain to do so, like utilizing the upcoming technology to change everything to do so. And who knows, we know that they're collecting the data that they see Artifact going through in order to make their playbook cleaner, right? So please believe, after this Air Force One forging event on the 24th of this month, Nike's going to understand how to execute when it comes to their products on NVS. What works, what doesn't work. Okay, we like this, we didn't like this. Let's refine this. Let's switch and pivot when it comes to this specific point. Let's keep this because this worked. And then they'll be able to deliver that experience in a cleaner, more concise way when it comes to their own product release. And that's, who knows what happens from there, right? Like, let's say the bigger part of Nike headquarters sees what's happening at NVS, and they change their entire release performance or procedure based off of what's happening here. And I honestly believe that's the whole process, right? Because it's the same playbook that we saw Amazon take when they allowed small business owners to come and use their platform as their distribution point for their business. And Amazon saw who was winning and who was losing. And then they took plays from the winners. They would actually buy out the winners and take their business, or they would undercut them and do the exact same thing that they were doing, the small business owners, and just deliver it at a cheaper price, to the point where that business owner had to sell it to Amazon, and Amazon just added to their books, and of course added to their percentages at the end of the year, adding to their stock value, and continuously building the company to where it is now. And I believe this is the same play that Nike is doing now. They're waiting for the understanding, not from their side, but from everyone else's side, to be a part of this procedure so they can add that to their playbook as well. But that's why I rock with Artifact so heavy when it comes to this type of release, because they are actually innovating and leading the way of the change of everything when it comes to high luxury goods. I can bet my bottom dollar in a couple of years we're going to see the LVMHs running the same play. Why do we have to spend so much money on these physical items to create these samples and put these products into these stores, just to sit and not sell and take a loss on it? And Louis Vuitton doesn't put things on sale. They rather burn their shit than give it away at a discounted price to keep the provenance of the brand up. This changes everything. Once they see how this works and how successful this is when it comes to a consumer standpoint, it changes all procedures. Please believe they're gonna start digitizing their inventory, putting it on a blockchain based product selling retail shop, and utilizing the same digital type of execution over using a physical execution, keep their numbers high, keep their costs low, and build towards the future as well. So this is major on all fronts, not just to be like, oh, I'm going to get some shoes, oh, I'm picking up some Air Force Ones. Like, no, the people who are participating in this forging event and all the previous and future forging events, you are literally changing the way that shopping experiences will go from this day forward. The execution of this, the completion of this changes everything. And you also get a chance to be part of the historic event and own these, like Johnny said, some of the most limited sneakers that Nike has ever made in history, and that's a certified fact. They
And
don't make.
Dre, really, and can I answer this question because I'm actually trying to think about it. Have they ever had a co-branded Nike Air Force One?
Has Nike ever had a co-branded Nike Air Force One?
Yeah, like with like a swoosh on one side and another
Oh
logo on the
no,
other.
then
Like I
Nike.
don't
That's
think
one
that's
thing
ever
they
happened.
don't do. They don't remove the swoosh
Exactly.
for anyone. That's well, honestly, if you look at Travis Scott, that's why they didn't remove it. They just reversed it, and even that was a big deal at that point. So this is people have to understand. Like they look at what we're doing here, they look at Artifact and the execution of things, and they're like, ah, oh, if it's another pair of damn shoes, I'm gonna rip somebody's head off. Like this is major news. Like Johnny just said, they gave them a slot on their one of the most coveted sneaker models and allowed them to put their own personal branding on the shoe in place of the iconic Nike swoosh. And they allowed them to bring in Takashi Murakami to do his iteration of these sneakers in such limited quantities, right? Like a lot of companies don't build in this type of way because they take a loss trying to create these shoes in such limited quantities. And people don't understand that either. You have an opportunity to be a part of a true historic moment and own this history, right? This is legit artwork once you get your hands on it and you can utilize it as such. Deep, what's up, bro?
Yeah, honestly, the way that I think of Apple, I mean, Nike is always like Apple, right? In terms of innovation, they both are always looking to innovate. And for example, Apple with like their headphones, right? Once those came out, everyone's like, "What the hell is going on here? Like, I don't understand it." And then like it changed the game, right? And so like the way that Apple works in terms of their company, they have basically almost like subsidiaries underneath, right, where they create innovation. And I think Nike like if you ever see like Apple Music, it was because of Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, right? With Beats, they created Apple Music pretty much, and so like that's kind of what Nike did by acquiring Artifact is that same level of innovation, right? Because sometimes with a company that's out there for so long, and especially when it gets corporatized, it's hard to innovate and create new ideas. And being at the top, it's being successful and being at the top for so long, like you need outside perspective, right? And this, like when they saw Artifact and the level of innovation they invested on them early, and it's basically taking that innovation onto that same level or and taking it to the next level.
That's a fact. And that's a great point. I'm glad you even brought that up because of the story behind why the people at Universal Music Group went after Jimmy Iovine to forge that relationship with Apple to create iTunes and do all that. It's because it's similar stories, right? Like we came to a gap in the road when it came to consumers buying and paying for music. Piracy was at all-time high. They couldn't stop it. They didn't know how to slow it down. They were looking for more innovative ways in order to create more consumers and keep the music industry afloat, right? And this is the true story. Um, and before I continue to go in it, let's retweet the room. Let's feed the algorithm. Let's speak on the comments. Can you do that for me? We got 44 people in here. Oh, my bad. We got 44 people in here. Let's get some more retweets out there because this is something that we will be doing every single week until the actual forging event on April 24th of this month, just to continuously get the awareness out there and build up the hype, create the FOMO, create the perfect storm, like I always say. But going back to the story I was telling, they came across an issue where piracy was at an all-time high and they could not figure out a way to get consumers to pay for the music like they once were doing before. This is the same situation that we're dealing with in the sneaker realm. Bootlegging, counterfeits are at an all-time high. One thing that was combating that was the authentication system that was in place when it came to the secondary sales applications. When I'm talking about GOAT, I'm talking about StockX. Before, they used to guarantee and authenticate to make sure that the person who was making the purchase on the secondary platform was not receiving fakes, were not receiving counterfeits. It got to a point where StockX could no longer provide that verification. So that just gives it free reign for the counterfeiters, which is $1 billion industry, making counterfeit sneakers and selling them. They can just flow their entire inventory utilizing these secondary systems. So when it came down to it, all of this eliminates that. It eliminates the leaks. It eliminates the piracy, quote unquote. It eliminates the burning of the sneakers, right? Because once you have these RFID chips placed in these sneakers, it automatically creates the authentication on the blockchain that keeps and lets people know what's real and what's not. And that's what keeps this whole system afloat and creates the next wave of how sneaker sales can go. And like I said before, this is the start of it all. We are watching and actually participating in the building of history with this drop. And we just look at it. A lot of people just look at it like, yo, fuck these Air Force Ones. It's so much bigger than that. It has so much more provenance when it comes to the execution than just fuck buying these pairs of sneakers. This is changing how things and everything will move from this point forward. Johnny, what's good?
Yeah, man, you made a super good point. Right now, like if you look at just sneaker resale, just in general, it's down like a lot over the last 12 to 24 months. And it's really, well, really the last 12 months, ever since the litigation between Nike and StockX happened. And now they're actually incentivized to send fakes through, right? Because it's like if Nike's suing them and they're having to pay for their lawyers and they're in litigation and it's over their authentication, but then they're asking Nike, like, how can you prove if they're authentic? Right. And so it's like this back and forth. And every day that's in litigation, they're like, man, fuck you guys. We're just going to make our money back, we're just going to send all these fakes through. Right. And so, and at the detriment to their client customers. Right. But, you know, the factories overseas are competing with Nike and they've been making fakes better quality than Nike for quite some time now because they're competing with them in the same market. They're just making, you know, 1,000 times more. And then they're just flooding the market with them. But now these secondary sites, I don't care who you are, they're not even able to authenticate them because they don't have a guaranteed way of authenticating them. And even Nike hasn't come out saying they have a proven way of authenticating it. So that's why I would say it's like any shoe that you have, good luck of trying to prove if it's real or not. So if you're buying a lot off of these secondary sites, most likely the majority of your shoes in your closet are fake. And it's not your fault, right? It's just the fact that it's like it's a money business, and it doesn't make sense for them to say no, this is fake, right? If it passes is a test from a kid that's in high school who's required to pass 1,000 shoes in a single shift, where it's like the high-end consignment stores that I know are having like 3 employees look at each shoe for like 15 minutes, and even them they can't guarantee anything, right? And so with these websites cranking through so many shoes, nothing's really authenticated, right? They're almost all unauthorized authentic fakes. So with that, you see the value of the shoes, right? Now imagine what happens to the value of the shoes when there's only X amount of units and you can guarantee provenance, you can guarantee authentication, you can guarantee all of it without a question, without just tapping your phone to a shoe, right? And then they start implementing this in every single hype drop period. And then you have the first shoes ever to drop ever from Nike. On the blockchain that's scanned, obviously besides the space strips, I have to include those, but yeah, I mean, this is historic shit, and this is like the kickoff to like the future of like how we're going to authenticate shoes in the future. So it's like the fact that we have season 1 here about to be forging, it's super exciting.
Everything about this is crazy because If you think about the authentication process on these secondary platforms, they legit smelling the shoes, bro. Like that's part of the authentication process. Let me smell these mugs and make sure that they real. Like,
But that's what's so funny to me. It's like, dude, they use factories on multiple different continents, right? And so different factories from Vietnam to Taiwan to all these different factories, they use different glues. So it's like even if you're smelling it, you still
right.
can't tell
You can't tell,
where
but
the
that's
ones
my
are.
point. It's such a ridiculous process. Like, it's down to the nose. Like, literally, let me check this out, bro. See how
It's
this
literally
working.
down to the fact it's like, can this pass? Right? It's like, and the fact that
Yes,
unauthorized the factories are competing with Nike and they know it and they've been knowing it, they're making shoes better quality than them. So when they get them in, most likely the real shoes are getting turned away because they got glue stains or they're like,
100%.
you know what
Some
I mean?
type
Just
of
like the
B
threes that
grade.
just like the
Yep.
reimagined threes, right? Like most of the people that got those shoes were complaining about the quality control of them. When it's like most of them were probably getting turned away because they were like, this back tap screwed up. It's not real, even though it came from Nike.com. And then like
Yeah.
the unauthorized version of that got passed through because it looked clean. Right.
Yeah.
This is what's so crazy.
And it's been a process that's been a part of the sneaker game for quite some time, where people are complaining about the shape of something or the elephant print on the Nike threes or even real life mold in the reimagined ones. It's just been so many issues, right? And let's get to the point of the mold because of the storage system, right? These shoes don't get constructed last week and then go out the next week. They make these and sit them in storage factories for quite some times, months, even years, depending on how the drop goes. And of course, it's going to have these variables that are added to the release, right? Like, oh, the release of the storage before the release. So when it came down to the Lost and Found Jordan Chicago ones that released last November, they released some that had actual mold on the shoe because it had, whoever knows what happened, maybe wherever it was stored got wet evidently, and they had to let this product go. This eliminates that entire situation because it's built out with the process of the same type of forgeability. You want this shoe, you order this shoe, you have the digital version, you can utilize the digital version to create and forge the physical version. Physical version is created and sent out directly to and for you. And now you have both the digital version to use upon your avatar and your VFM files and your Fortnite games and whatever other game that they plan on come out, whatever type of gamification they plan on using in the future, you have that ability to do so because you paid and own that asset, that NFT, and you can rock it in real life to do your day-to-day missions, your tokenization, your gamification to receive other exclusive drops that are created from the same project. So you have to understand the power of this release. It's not just your typical everyday Jordan release that comes out and then you move on to the next one. This is something that will change everything forever. And as a community member of this project, I urge you to take that into accountability when you make the decision on participating within this drop on the 24th. Deep, what's cracking, my guy?
Two quick things. The Jimmy Iovine thing, like I knew there was a connection, but I didn't. Like you stitched that up pretty well and made it make sense. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. And the second thing is like sneakers nowadays. In terms of, I watch videos sometimes, and the fakes are getting insanely good. And they go to like different these guys that they'll buy these sneakers, these fake ones, get them shipped, and then they'll go to different sneaker shops or conventions, see what people think, and it divides the room. Like 50% of them think they're real. You know what I mean? And you guys are right. They do some crazy shit, like in terms of looking at it and stuff, and it has me dying sometimes with what they're doing, like the way that they're looking through the sneaker, inside, under the sole, all that shit. It's hilarious to see.
It gets ridiculous after a while, man, because it's not like you're gonna tell, right? Oh, the glue, that's got to be European glue that came from the elephant's ass on the left cheek. I know what that smelled like. No, bro, you have no idea what they're doing with these shoes.
It's
But I
like
do
wine
want to.
tasting.
You said what? It's like what?
It's like wine tasting, you know, and like these snobs. tasting wine and stuff. They're like, yeah, this one's $1,000, and this now it's like a $20 wine. So yeah.
Right, the same situation. You never really truly know unless you can have the data that's stored on the blockchain. You can go to it and see and understand the authentication behind it, exactly where it's come from, the utilization of the tokenization of the NFT, everything. Like this changes everything. I do want to open up the floor to anyone who's down there who has any questions, who want to jump up, any questions, concerns, because like I said, we do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. I want to make sure that everyone knows or has, any questions that they have that we can answer them right here today, but also to follow up and understand that I will be putting on these spaces every week. The days may vary, but every week up until the forging date of April 24th, just so we can clear the air, we can continue to build the awareness, continue to build the hype, and continue to build the FOMO so we can have the formula to have a successful forging event when it comes to the release of these Air Force Ones. Understand what you're rocking with, understand what you're doing here, understand the history making capabilities that we are faced with this forge. SBJ, what's good, bro?
Yo. I was looking at the comments, bro. I want those freaking robot shoes. So, if I remember correctly from the last space, you said like I just gotta pick up one of those forging tokens if I want to get those shoes. Is that right?
That's correct. Check into the pin that I put on the top, the artifact pin, the last one. It says Forza Future 42423. Click on that link. It sends you directly to the artifact website. You can choose the exact model that you want to forge. It'll send you to the secondary market of it. Cop that on 424. Make sure you show up, forge it. You'll get your shoes. They saying by Q4 of this year, tentatively. And then you can be a part of history as well. But also, before you do all of that, make sure you tell your family, your friends, your mama, your daddy, your sister, your cousin, your grandma. Grandma needs some Mirakamis, man. She needs some drips. Grandma got to show up to church looking good, bro. So we got to get her on the same gravy train. Like everyone you know that's either
Yo,
into sneakers or not into sneakers, they can be a part of this as well.
yo, my grandma's Hindu, bro. She takes off her shoes before she enters the temple. So I don't know. It's dangerous, bro.
Yeah, I don't know about that because somebody else might yoink those up. Nobody's gonna let the drips just sit out there when they inside the temple. But everybody, bro, like this is a great thing. This is next level. It's never been done before. People have to understand what they're dealing with, or they will miss out. They will miss out, and we don't want anyone from our community or any other community to miss out on a historic occasion, man. This is something beautiful. I'm grateful to be a part of it, and I'm going to do everything I can do to continue to build the awareness. Like we sit and talk about this stuff on Bad Take every night. If you ever want to get me on a rant or a monologue or just hear me talk, or maybe you got to get off to go eat or take a shower or do something else, bring up these sneakers or any sneakers, and I'm going in on it. But we have to get to the communication portion of everything so we can clear the confusion, man. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I'm
So,
making some crazy like lasered glass cases for these things for sure.
oh,
And
that's
I
crazy.
think I'm gonna theme them out. Yeah, I got this like working on the designs now, but like yeah, it's like I think I'm gonna do like these tubed kind of like not like the standard like square ones, almost like these future, almost like the vials, like the clone vials and shit. How they're set like that on the vial, but like set up like display cases like that. But then I'm gonna try to like almost do like a tour in a way, and almost like have them displayed in certain places for like X amount of time, like to have like the collection set. But then it's like themed out that way, right? So with like LED lights, like themed out the shoes and shit.
Oh, that's
But
crazy.
designing it out right now, I think it'll be dope once it's actually done.
No, that's super dumb though. That's super dumb though. You stay with the fire, man. That's what I'm saying. We on the same page. We can talk offline to get this stuff going. You're talking about a tour. Yeah, we can get some stuff going. But yes, 3 minutes left. Is there anyone else who has any questions, comments, concerns? Jace, I appreciate you joining us from the other side of the pond. Um, Tell your Scotland homies to pull up. We appreciate them as well. Shout out to the people who came up and spoke. Shout out to the homie Pumpisha them. Pumpisha, a man down there. He's the guy who knows and understands the
Yo,
situation. Appreciate you joining us, bro. I wish we could keep this going for longer, for real. But like I said, I got this hard stop at 1. Shout out to DP. I know you grabbing a pair, bro. You've been a part of Bad Take for the last couple of days. I seen your sneaker collection in this banana nut bread.
I'm finna get like 3 more pair actually.
There it is. See, you already know. You already know. I know Deep grabbing a pair too, man. My man came through. He's been a part of the ecosystem for quite some time now. I don't even. It seemed like a year. It's probably been like a month. But I know you got to grab the demons. If you got to go full demon, you got to grab the demons and represent.
I'm thinking I gotta either get the Genesis. I don't know, maybe both. Maybe get some
Yeah,
angels too.
yeah, for sure. You stay on demon time. You have to get the demons, bro. Like it's
Those Vantas though, those Vanta blacks, like never been
Demons
done
go
before
crazy.
either. That's like never. That's a material that's never been used either, which is crazy.
no, that's what I was talking about earlier. The Vanta Black being able to have that colorway. This is the first time in sneaker history officially to have a colorway that's Vanta Black. You cannot sleep on that. I added my man subscribe up here. We got to go
Yo,
in 2 minutes. Subscribe. What's good?
I, I'm I'm actually gonna head out in a couple seconds. I got a meeting to go to. But you sold me, bro. I'm making some transfers right now. It takes a couple
Let's
of days
go.
for me for my money to transfer over to my crypto account. A couple of days, but I'm definitely trying to get some. You sold me on the Vanta Black, bro.
Let's go. Let's go. All right, yo, we appreciate that. We appreciate your time. We're gonna be here next week, every week until 424. We're gonna be here to answer any questions, concerns. Tell all your homies in Web2 if they don't know anything about it and they want to learn more. Jump into the sneaker soapbox. I'll make sure to put the link up after this one so we can have it set up for next week. I appreciate all of you guys for being here with me. Have a great weekend. I will see the rest of the clan tonight for a bad take.